You are already reviewed.
Well, no, not yet.
It's just whatever. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, no. Anyway, uh, sorry, I'm still reeling from the end, but yeah. So we watched the most condensed and not actually Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's the best way to experience this entire franchise.
I mean, I'll probably read the manga when I get bored enough.
Anyway, this was DD Fist of the North Star.
They're a bunch of gremlins who can't find work because all of their skills pertain to punching, and unfortunately for them, the year 1990X, nothing happened.
Yeah, so now they all have to vie for a part-time job at a convenience store.
Owned by a man who suspiciously looks exactly like their old master.
To be fair, though, there's like 3 of him out there.
At least 3. Technically 4. Because the real master has to exist somewhere.
But yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
They work for 7 yen a month.
Indeed. And they didn't have enough to even pay for karaoke.
Yeah.
So, okay, so there's the 3 brothers, Kenshiro, oh god,
Rao,
Toki, and we don't talk about Jaggy, but Jaggy's there, and a whole bunch of other characters from Fist of the North Star, some of which I recognize or remember, mainly from the fighting game. That's where I know like Thowther and that's where I knew Rao and I didn't remember Toki, but that's
fine because Toki sucks. No one likes Toki.
Yeah, well, and also that's where I sort of knew about the giant guy. I already forgot his name.
Fudo.
Yeah. So, yeah. Kenshiro dismembers an entire house, trying to...
Yeah, he gets a job as a construction worker, and they're like, look, you gotta pound the nails in. And he's just like, got it. And he just pounds a ton of nails in, and then the house disintegrates. Then he gets fired.
Yep.
So then he's gotta resort to his ultimate technique, putting on cat ears and sitting in a box.
Meanwhile, his 2 brothers, Toki and Rao, also have similar methods of trying to obtain... At this point, I think it's just being picked up and mooching off of someone.
Something like that, yeah.
But Lynn, who's the daughter of the convenience store owner, picks up everything that happens to that's cute and lives in a cardboard box.
It doesn't have to be cute.
No, it doesn't. I mean, one time she picks up a Martian. But, yeah, so... turns out when Kenshiro arrives at the convenience store, his brothers are there too. Toki, who is sickly and constantly coughs up blood, and Rao, who is the king of insert whatever is relevant to what's going on.
Literally everything.
King of everything. King of anything and everything you could
And
possibly
doing
need.
nothing.
Yes. And Rao also has his fucking sick-ass horse.
Yeah, so...
He makes noises that I can't remember now.
They're like weird Yoshi noises.
And then he sniffs like a pig.
Yeah.
I love Black King, though. Black King's great. Best horse.
So, once reunited, they're like... They see that you can get a part-time job. And the store owner is like, well, one of you guys can get it.
Because there's only one.
And they all want this job so they can impress Ken's fiance, Yuria.
Yeah, they all want Yuria. And when they get paid, they all go to Yuri's bar, but there's a doll there in the place. And she left a note.
Yeah, she stepped out for a little bit, which that little bit was like the whole anime.
We'll find out where she's been. It's kind of great. But yeah, essentially just random hijinks occur. The gang led by Mr. Hart shows up. Mr. Hart is a blonde-haired, pretty boy leading a gang that's there to rob the convenience store. So Kenshiro pokes his pressure points and turns him into... It's like the pressure point of like the pig or something.
Yeah, he turns him into a large man.
And they like knock all the gang members into the police station each time. They're like, "Who are you?"
Wow, you're a big one.
So Mr. Hart takes on the visage that we know him for. And yeah.
So the North Star convenience store has a feud with the South Star convenience store chain. They set up there's this whole what was that, like a festival thing?
Yeah, it's like
they had a whole bunch of stalls.
Yeah.
And every single one of the South Star stalls was a convenience store.
Oh, we love convenience stores. Sorry.
No, that's pretty much how it goes.
Well, but that's what I fucking love about that bit. It's just... And that's what this show is a series of bits that, some of which go on for... There's one that goes on for precisely, like, 2 rebounds too long, but then goes into a decent joke, to round it out. But that's generally what I feel like the show kind of just turns into, is just like, here's this series of jokes we're going to make.
Yeah, basically, whenever South Star shows up, they're always fighting over who gets Uria.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's a doll, always.
Yes, because the leader of... Fuck, what is his name? Shin?
Shin.
Leader of South Star, Shin, he makes Yuri dolls. And we find out he does that to help pay for the bar that he bought Uria. And he also made the main doll,
which is indestructible.
Absolutely indestructible. Lands, like, you can grind it on the road while traveling at highway speeds.
They hit it with a bazooka.
Oh my god, they do. And the clothes don't even, like, and it's utterly unharmed. It leaves craters in the ground when you drop it. And yet somehow Uria herself can catch it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Which leads to the question of why did she need to be put into a robot suit other than to control her?
Whoa, hang on there.
I know, I'm jumping ahead, but...
Hang on there, there's still a whole bunch of other plot lines.
Yeah, like the fact that, Toki got all of his, life advice from some random guy with 2 teeth and a giant beard. Who just popped up and said shit. And then turned out to be a salesman for this gross green stuff.
Yeah, they put all the green things in the green people.
And the guy named Green into the green stuff.
There's an episode where one of Lynn's friends is being stalked, and they beat up Jaggy because he looks suspicious.
And they're like,
They're like, we don't see any other stalkers here, and there's like 9 of them.
Yeah, they're all following her, and then there's the one guy who's wearing a,
He's wearing
pantyhose over his face, so his face is constantly smushed. But it turns out he's some character that I can't remember.
Is it Ray? I think it's Ray.
It might be.
He's a South Star guy.
Yeah.
He's not a bad guy, though.
Yeah.
But he gets beat up every time he shows up because he's like... Because they don't remember him, so
Yeah.
he's got to throw the pantyhose on.
And then they remember him as the stalker.
So then they beat him up, and it just happens every single time he shows up.
It's... Except for the one time I think he shows up and Rao's got a cold, so he's imagining everyone is Uria.
Except for the girl who likes him.
Yes, no, he has no problem recognizing that she's her.
There's another lady who shows up, and her dad is also like the brother of the manager.
Yes, but he has one hair.
Yeah, it's soft and fluffy.
Indeed.
And her whole thing is she wants to get married, but she's 50. and she's wearing a whole bunch of makeup. So Kenshiro just hits her pressure point. He's like, "You are already 25."
And it turns her back into what she looked like with all the makeup on.
Also, Ray is really into her.
But he's being chased by a different guy.
Yeah, he's being chased by Yuta.
And they end up getting married.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ray comes back. So Mamiya, the girl who's 25 now, she gets rope. I know we're skipping a whole bunch of things. I just figured I'd finish up this thread here.
Yeah, it's fine.
She might get married to this rich guy who abuses dogs.
He got rich off of dog stuff, and he whips his dogs around town to get places.
And like, she's like, "No, you're gross and lame." And then he drops a diamond. She's like, "You dropped this." He's like, "I don't need anything that I dropped. You can have it." "Oh, you're so cool."
And immediately in his carriage. It's absurd.
So Ray ends up hiring the brothers to act as goons, essentially, to get her back.
Because he makes 78 yen an hour, while these fuckers make 7 yen a month. So they're like, he earns so much! And he keeps just dropping, like, paltry amounts of yen at them to get them to beat people up. And Ryle puts on his dog costume, and it's horrifying.
It's sexy dog costume.
It's so bad. Yeah, and
I actually kind of forgot how this all wraps up.
Basically...
Oh yeah, she slaps his hair off. Because Toki keeps mentioning that he's married.
Oh, yeah, keeps outing him. And
then they're like, "Well, yeah, he makes 78 cents, or 78 yen a month, or
an hour.
An hour." And they're like, God, he's like, "Guys, stop! That's embarrassing. You're making me look bad."
Yeah, but she finally decides that. Well, it turns out that dog guy just wants her to act like a dog and puts her in like dog ears, dog nose, has a dog house for her. And so she's like,
So she weighs the options.
And then decides to stick with the guy who actually likes her.
Also, it turns out she was his preschool teacher.
Oh my god, I forgot. And that's when she fell in love with him. That 30 years ago or so. Just ignore how creepy and weird that is. To a significant degree, like, really bad. Ugh,
and then she finds out he's married. She slaps his hair off, and then that was the end.
Yeah. But... yeah.
Let's see, there was a beach episode.
Oh god, there was. Fucking, the manager got buried in sand, and everyone thinks he's Buddha, and starts dropping him money.
He's like, "I'll be rich."
And then they leave him. And the tide comes in.
Yeah, so Shin is selling his Yuria doll, a ride with the Yuria doll in like an inner tube.
Yes.
For 50,000 yen an hour.
Yeah. And it has a cigarette, and these 3 fucking idiots go along with it, and then of course some of the ashes drop and burn a hole in it, sink it, and they realize it's a doll. They beat up the South Star goons, and the entire time Yuria doll is washed up on shore, covered in seaweed, with a crab going back and forth.
This happy ass crab.
Crab's loving it. It's great.
There's an episode where Jaggy gets mistaken as Kenshiro because Lynn's friend has really bad eyesight.
Yeah. The one who got stalked is getting stalked again, and she's looking for Kenshiro to help her, and Jaggy's there, and is like, "No, say my name." I said your name, Kenshiro. And then turns around to the stalker, is like, "No, say my name." She said it's Kenshiro.
So it must be Kenshiro.
Your name must be Kenshiro. So he pretends to be Kenshiro, which is just wonderful if you know what Jaggy does in the actual show.
So he constantly saves her throughout the episode.
Sort of. I believe the horse gets involved at one point.
Yeah, the horse
We didn't even talk about the horse episode, which is kind of important, because...
We're getting there.
Alright.
I mean, Jaggy scares off the initial stalkers.
Yes.
By flailing around wildly.
And
then she gets stuck in a tree.
She drops...
She drops into a puddle,
into a giant... into an extremely deep puddle, I guess. And then gets stuck in a tree, and he cuts her out of the tree, and this guy who looks like fucking Mr. T comes out and goes, "Did you break my tree?" Beats the crap out of him. And then the horse shows up and does all the work, and she's like, "Wow, you were like a horse back there." And Jaggy's like, "Well, there was a horse involved."
And then she gets abducted again.
By two random fuckers, and in order to defeat them, he takes his mask off, and we don't see it. And for some reason, his eyes are like
red, green, blue.
Yeah, they're doing RGB shit, and so we're just like, what the fuck? And the whole episode ends when she tries to give flowers to Kenshiro, and Kenshiro's like, I
have no idea what you're talking about.
I didn't do anything. And she's like, oh. And then they go out, and she trips over Jaggy.
And then they beat up Jaggy.
They beat the shit out of Jaggy, and what's-her-face is like, no, wait, stop. And then she, like, feels his mask, and is like, oh, you're the one who helped me, or whatever. And it still doesn't say his name, because no one's allowed to say his name except for the narrator. And then they're like, oh yeah, we cut away from that point where he took his mask off.
You want to see what that looks like? He just has the most absolute baby face.
Just the most beautiful baby face. And then they're like interviewing the guys who ran away, and they're like, why did you run away from this? It's like, I don't know, this is the heat of the moment, we decided to go along with it. Yeah, so that's what Jaggy looks like. Because he got all of his hair blown off trying to get involved with the fight between the three brothers.
So Rao gets kidnapped.
Yes, by a random, like, what is clearly a character from the show, his daughter, and she's round. Every part of her is just, like, oval. And she wants to lick Rao.
3 times.
Because she was in an elevator and farted a little bit. And it was like, damn it, it wasn't supposed to make sound. Oh god, it stinks. But maybe they don't know it's me.
No, they knew.
And they're all staring at her. It's like, oh god, they know it's me. And then all of a sudden, a blast goes through the elevator. And it's Rao.
Because he's not going to be outdone.
And so she thinks that he did it to, like, cover for her. But we all know why Rao did it. But it's fantastic. And so she's trying to, like, she's got him chained up. And, I mean, she initially, like, tied him up and dragged him, and she's faster than Black King by 1 kilometer per hour.
Yeah, Black King can run at 80 kilometers per hour. She can run at 81.
Yeah. But, so Black King has to go get everyone's help to get him back. But in the meantime, she's trying to convince him, and she wears, like, a weird Urea, like, porcelain mask in her face. And, I remember at one point she, like, punched his face in. And you cut back to it, and it's just the fist indentation with his tiny face in the middle of it.
He's like, look, I will never love you.
And then she decides to put herself in a fucking, what is it, like a mochi?
Yeah, something to make a mold. It's in the shape of Urea, so she'll be like
melted into the shape of Urea. And thankfully Rao's a decent person for some reason. And breaks out and saves her from it, and is like, Rao says that you are fine just the way you are. Which of course makes her swoon. And then apparently he gets licked. Which we find out in a later episode.
Yeah, and then Black King drags the 3 of them in there and like, well, we were too late.
What I love is that he's like trying to do essentially charades, and finally just goes, God damn it! He got kidnapped by this weird lady, and she's gonna lick him a bunch. We need to go get him. God, you guys are idiots. And like the horse can talk.
Yeah, it's real good.
And I think it comes up like one other time.
Yeah,
in the Jaggy episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were too late, and there's like a random episode later, which is it's hysterical. It's like the one episode that has continuity, and it turns out to be like foreshadowing for the ending that there was any continuity to begin with. But yeah, I don't even remember what happens in that episode, where that takes place immediately after. That supposedly takes place immediately after when he got licked and stuff, where he comes in and he's wet. I literally don't remember.
Is that the Girls' Night Out episode?
I think it is. That one's dumb. They're just trying to... The boss is there because he wants to figure out if Lynn has a boyfriend. And it's actually unclear whether she does, but she's like joking.
But she throws Kenshiro and Bat under the bus several times.
Yeah, just keep going back and forth, and he keeps cutting their pay.
Yeah, I know, because like the first cut, Bat makes like 100 yen per hour now.
Yeah.
Then he gets paid in unsold bananas. Then he gets a banana peel. Meanwhile, Kenshiro gets his beard.
Well, he gets first he gets dropped down to 2 yen a month. Then he gets paid in his beard. Then he gets paid in his hair. And he's like, you don't have any hair.
There's a really good scene though when Rao, king of eavesdropping, goes over to listen to the table,
and the girl who wants to like lick him turns around with like big eyes.
Oh, she doesn't turn around; just her
head spins. Yeah,
her head fucking does a 180.
Oh my god!
She's just looking over the back of the chair.
It's so horrifying, and she's got like CRT static on her head. It's so good. Some of the visual gags in this are incredible. I'll admit, like, when we first started, I'm like, oh, this is kind of dumb, and I feel like there's so many references here that I'm not getting, and it just slowly wore me down. Like, every time Toki coughs up blood. It just became a thing where it's like, yeah, you should cough up blood right about now. Blah. It comes out of his eyes. And his ears. And he'll drop on the floor and there'll just be a pool of it. But yeah,
So there's an episode really early that kind of sets up this continuity that you wouldn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
Where Rao gets called by quote-unquote Toki, and he needs 3 million yen in 3 days. So Rao decides to go to a pawn shop to sell pictures of Yuria. And the pawnbroker's like, I don't want this. Get out of here.
Who is Yuria? And then he's like, I've got 2 more. And he's like, you can't write poetry on this shit. I don't want this. Get out. And...
Yeah, no, it turns out this whole needing the money is a kind of a scam. But later, to follow up in this continuity, Black King and Rao are like, I remember how we met. And it's a guy who looks suspiciously like the pawnbroker, but you wouldn't think about that.
I didn't even notice. I just thought it was just the show being the show, and it's just that old. It's just an old guy, and he's like, "What are you gonna do with that horse?" It's like, I own a horse meat shop. What do you think's gonna happen to the horse? It's like, I'm gonna buy the horse. And
I have 2 yen.
2 yen. He's like, are you fucking kidding me? 2 yen? Are you insulting me? I know kung fu. And then Rao gets like huge and is like, you will sell me the horse. And then the guy's like, yeah, all right.
Horse is yours.
Keep the horse. And then later when Bat has to go to a kindergarten and he meets what's his name? Fudo, who's an absolute kaiju of a human being. And whenever he talks to him, it's like blasts of air. And it's like deafening. And he's absolutely terrifying. But he finally wins the kids over with treats.
And protecting them from his old gang of dudes on...
Segways.
Armored segways.
And they like bash into him in like a rotating...
Yeah.
Spiral. He scares the shit out of Rao, so Rao's idea is he grabs like a a really generic club, and he's got glasses on. He's like, "Why are you wearing sunglasses?" But these aren't sunglasses. These are glasses I painted black.
So I won't be afraid of them because I won't see them.
A king of strategy. And so
as he's walking into walls.
Like he's at the entrance of the elementary school just running into the pillar. Oh,
yeah, so this was an assignment for Bat to go to this daycare, preschool, or whatever.
Yeah.
And he tells the headmaster, who looks suspiciously like a pawnbroker and a horse meat shop salesman guy.
Yeah, and he's like, "This sounds like something out of a manga. Do you expect me to believe this? You fail."
Anyway,
it finally all culminates with, it seems like the fight is going to be between South Star and North Star, as Shin is trying to recruit Bat, but ends up kidnapping him, and then throwing all of his clothes onto the Yuria doll for reasons, and basically comes in and is like, or shoots a suction cup arrow at the boss, and is like, "We took Bat," but it's in like shitty handwriting, and for some reason Lynn can read it.
See, they didn't realize that that Bat was taken, but they do this whole thing where they'll do a gag and then it'll just stop.
And there's just this awkward pause, and then they just, honestly, I thought that whole section was amazing. I thought that was funnier than anything Bats added, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think it was way funnier.
There's a part where Toki just coughs up, blood falls over, and they just look at him.
They just stare at him, and
then he gets back up,
and then he just slowly gets back up, and they start working again. But yeah, there's another part that we didn't talk about where it's another important section where Yuria calls the convenience store asking for milk to be delivered, and Kenshiro manages to take the call, and then the other two brothers find out about it, and so they all end up in a fight. And Rao gets stuck in the electrical wires and is getting electrocuted. And Kenshiro's like, damn it, it's my brother, I gotta save him. So he ends up getting electrocuted. And then Toki.
It's like, I'll save both of you. And he pulls a fishing pole.
And casts it up to him, so he gets electrocuted. And then Lynn finds the switch for the...
That was foreshadowing.
Yes. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Lynn finds the switch, this giant generic switch, turns off the power, so they all drop, and they all get to bar Yuria, and she's gone. And they all end up drinking the milk. It's good stuff.
Anyway, going back to the end.
Yeah. So...
They show up at the South Star headquarters, where Shin's like, well, I'm going to take over the whole city. We're going to have South Star convenience stores everywhere.
Well, you forgot about the part where they're like all failing to request Bat back, and Lynn has to keep saying stuff that they should be saying because they can't remember why they're there.
They don't care.
They don't care at all.
Like they rush out there, and then like the screen pans over, and they're like, wait, why are we rushing? Let's take a nice walk.
Yeah,
the weather's nice.
They slow down on Black King. They're like, let's just get a nice walk out of this. It's a nice day, isn't it? It's great. And
after negotiations fail, big ass wrecking ball just comes in and knocks out the whole room. And they're like, hey. And the guy's like, look, I bought that building, you guys gotta leave.
And then they zoom in, and they still can't see him. And they zoom in even harder, and it's the old guy who's been running the pawn shop, the horse meat
store,
whatever, and the professor.
And I think like two other things.
There was other stuff, probably.
Oh, he was the
Oh, he was the one who came up to Yuria and is like, you look good in a wedding dress or something. And
well, that's just that happens later.
I swear that happened earlier in...
Did it? I mean, I was going to say he was also the Ray's boss when he was working at the dock
Oh my god,
pusher.
you're right. And he might have been the guy who fired, what's his face with the swan boats?
Yeah.
I think he was that guy.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Oh, right. Okay. He also might have been the guy who commented on the Uria dolls getting worse.
He might have. I don't actually know about that.
I don't know either, but I'm just remembering. I'm like, I don't remember what that guy looked like. He might have been generic.
But yeah, no, he's big business now, and he's taking over the...
He's gonna build a giant supermarket.
He's taking over the city, and he's bought out everybody, including the boss.
And they're like, oh, don't give up that easily. He's like, yeah, this money, and he slaps down like one stack, but there's like tons of stacks behind him.
No, this is just insurance if you guys don't win.
Yeah, and the fucking some kind of food restaurant turns out he got bought out.
Yeah, I know. He made a big old he's like, we're not going anywhere. We're going somewhere else.
Yeah. So they all show up at then they drop the title and it's like Kenshiro versus Yuria, and I'm like, don't spoil that. And they get to the building and he's like, yeah, well, I've got my security police robot, or my security robot for short.
And then Bat does his thing where
Yeah.
he's like, that's not short.
Yeah. And then it starts punching people, and then you start hearing it saying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, and it's like, oh, it's Yuria and the robot.
Yeah, and then Jaggy shows up, and he does a flying headbutt, knocks the helmet off the robot, knocks his helmet off, get to see his beautiful baby face.
He's knocked out. And yeah, it's Yuria in the robot suit, and
then she's like, yeah, I know, he walked in, he's like, hey, well, would you like to try this dress on? If you like it, you can keep it. And then the dress was a suit of armor.
yes.
And she's like, this is a very strange wedding dress.
He's like, oh, well, I'm glad you like it. And then he like puts the helmet on her and is like, say roar. And she just does. Yuria's an oddball. We didn't even talk about the fight through the city over the Yuria doll where Yuria is walking around and she's so fucking lost. She's 33 kilometers away from where she needs to be trying to buy soy sauce.
They went down to Yokohama for some reason. And there's a big old brawl between these super discreet smugglers.
Walking through a park in midday.
Shouting about all of the things that they are smuggling.
Mm-hmm.
And this line of incompetent police officers who don't do anything.
And the two super cops who just shoot guns, and they end up using the Yuria doll as cover. And it gets a cannon fired at it, which takes out the two cops. But the Yuria doll is, like, we already talked about, the Yuria doll is completely unscathed.
And so Kenshiro takes out the entire gang because they run out of ammo, because he's using the dolls as cover as well. And then a man who looks a lot like the boss and his brother shows up, and he's the police chief.
Yep. And he gives a long speech trying to award him something, and then they end, and in the fight over the Yuria doll between Shin and Kenshiro, they knock out the police chief.
Several times.
And the cops, like, back and forth until the police chief finally gets up and is like, you won't get me this time. He's got a gun out, and they clothesline him.
But yeah, no, so this fight over the doll takes them on, like, the freeway. They go on, like, a sightseeing tour.
Yes, where it's just art of, like, locations.
And then they get on the freeway, they get on a train, and then they get back to the store.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Yuria, she talked to one of the cops, and the cops is like, yeah, you need to be 33 kilometers that way.
That's like 6.5 hours of walking.
And she's like, well, if I move at 33 kilometers per hour,
then I'll get there in 1 hour.
And as this fight reaches its climax, she shows up in front of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And shit, what happens? Shin and the doll fall, and they fall off the building, and Kenshiro saves Shin.
Yes.
And then Yuria just catches...
Just daintily... got it. And it's like, oh my god, Yuria's a monster. Because she actually dodged Shin and Kenshiro fighting over the doll. Like doing all sorts of weird shit to dodge them. She's weirdly capable. It's confusing.
Also really good at getting lost.
Yes, it's kind of what she excels at.
But yeah, going back to the ending again.
Yes, she is in the robot suit. This goes back to my point that, like, I'm now convinced that the robot suit is only to control her, and her power is her own power, and she could totally beat the shit out of everybody. But,
So once the mask comes off, Shin is like, I'm gonna switch sides. And he's like, anybody who's, against the CEO has to go up against me. Unfortunately, there's a microphone on her shoulder.
So it zooms in, and there's this, like, weird purple, it's a switch. And, there's a golden fucking microphone. And thanks to that microphone, which is actually the microphone from the karaoke, because they have the same color microphones, the boss hears that Shin is trying to be... He says something to Yuria that's essentially the effect of, like, well, I'm not actually turning traitor, or something.
Yeah, so he gets beat up.
Yes.
Toki attempts to hold Bat hostage with a banana.
And then the
CEO's just like,
I don't care.
What? Get out of here.
Yeah, like, I don't fucking care about him. Meanwhile, Lynn is climbing into the vents.
Air vents.
Yes. We will find out why later.
And Rao takes his turn, and he goes up there, he's getting ready to do his thing, and the CEO man's like, I know what you're weak against. And deploys the licking helmet.
Yeah, which is just the girl saying she's gonna lick him, and so he runs away scared.
And then our boy Jaggy
comes back again, knocks the helmet off.
And knocks his helmet off, gets his beautiful baby face yet again.
And he's once again knocked out.
So Kenshiro goes in, he does his fighting thing, the armor's... He hits the armor enough that it's about to explode. Like, he overloads it.
And so he's like, well, if you're gonna blow up, take them all with you. And Kenshiro gets up there and is like, I'll go with you. And then Toki and Rao are like, should we go too?
No, that's an explosion.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, really, guys? And then finally, Lynn drops out from the vents onto the shoulder of the robot and pushes the off switch.
And she's like, well, it's a machine. Machines always have switches.
And it's like, fuck. It's all been leading up to this. It's all been for this. They've been dropping hints and clues the entire time. And so she, like, sits on the desk, and Kenshiro finishes breaking the robot open, and all the heroes surround the old man. He's like, I'm doing my apologies, and I'm bowing. And they're like, well, then do we get to beat the crap out of you? And he's like, no, don't beat me up.
No, nodding is good, fighting is bad, and then they beat him up.
Yeah, they softly beat him to a pulp.
Yeah, and then they finally get to sing their karaoke song. Everybody's all happy at the end.
Jaggy's there, which is a miracle, because all Jaggy does is yell at everyone to tell him his name, and they ignore him.
Or he gets beat up.
It's great.
Or people stand on his table while he's eating.
He's like, I'm eating here! Because he's always, like, somewhere outside the convenience store eating rice. I think one time he steals the rice from...
Somebody dropped a...
porridge?
Yeah, and he's just like, this is bad,
oh,
but it's free.
It's free food. Oh, God. Yeah, so they softly beat him to a pulp, and that's the end. Everyone does their singing, and they're all in the bar.
You know, we didn't really talk about the episode where Rao gets sick. In Egypt.
I did kind of talk about it, where he was seeing people as young.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
But there was a great moment in that where
he's mistaken the shop owner, and there's this yaoi moment, and it gets...
They got professional artists for this.
It gets really awkward and intimate, and then it suddenly cuts to Lynn looking in through the door, and it's like...
She just kind of like slides back out of frame
and closes the door. Oh, because at some point the boss starts going along with it a little bit. It's wonderful.
So, the licking girl, she tries to take advantage of the situation. She puts on the Yuria mask, and Rao's just like, no, you're not Yuria.
Who are you? And punches the ceramic mask.
She's like, how did you know?
It's so good. It's so good.
Okay, now that we've been here and there on this show.
Yeah, we've done the thing. We've talked about everything. It's time to throw numbers at this. I'm just gonna preemptively say it though. You watch this fucking show. This is a good time. Yeah. So plot. You know, there wasn't a plot until there was a plot, and it turns out there was a plot the whole time, and I don't know what to give that.
Give it a 3.
All right, fine.
Because I mean, if they were dropping more hints about the pawnbroker buying more stores, like if there was a little bit more visual to that,
yeah,
because it just sort of happens all at once,
and it's like, oh hey, it turns out this was being forecasted the entire time, and you just didn't know. But yeah, although I still love it for that. Like, the whole ending is incredible. Characters. Fuck,
very good.
I want to hit it with a 5. They were all... Everyone had a gimmick, and it was... Sometimes it got tired, but some of them were, like, aces. Honestly, Kenshiro was probably the weakest, just because he was kind of just...
He was just Kenshiro. He punched things, but he was also an idiot.
Yeah. It's
like the time he forgot that he had to go buy bananas.
Or the time where he watched girls getting hit on, and then and then got told that that's just picking up chicks, and then watched 2 men literally dragging a lady away, and
he's
like,
that looks like a crime, but
it looks like a crime, but I see it in a completely different light, and Bat's like, that is a crime. Oh god, I love everyone in the show. I hit it with a 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we already settled that then.
Animation.
Oh, the animation is awful.
Oh, it's awful in the best way possible.
But it's not trying to be good.
In every way, it's trying to be as awful as it is, and sometimes they just cut to some of the faces. Like, Rao's got some of the best faces where his artwork just dies a beautiful death.
There's one that I remember saving when I first watched this. It's when Rao's trying to buy straw or get straw, and he goes to a bar called Straw.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Where's the straw?" And he's like, "We're a bar."
Yeah.
And everything just fucking stops.
And his face is like 2 dots in a line, and he's just dead.
Like it was drawn in paint. With somebody's less dominant hand.
It was so good. I'm in that shit with a 5. I don't give a fuck. And I'll be honest, genre strength as far as like a parody goes, this was way too good. Way too good.
Alright, hit it with a 5.
Fuck it. Dub. There was no dub. Special
No, wait, hang on. There was partially a dub. Remember the Thouser episode? Where he comes
$55. And everyone's biting their bottom lip to the point where it's like bright red.
This.
Oh yeah, and the hands are coming out.
Right.
Oh.
Go back.
Oh god. And they got fucking Jaggy like stabbed onto the fucking cross. Oh my god.
I mean, I know it's not actually like a dub or anything, and the whole thing is just...
It's a joke, but I love the fucking, the owner just fucking up trying to say... Fine, I'll give it a point for that.
Woo!
Alright, special mention. Fuck, I don't know what to give it to. Too many things were good. Originally, I would have wanted to give it to Black King, because I loved Black King every time he showed up. But then we have Rao, and Rao is just a treasure. Every time he comes up and he's the king of God knows what, and he's blind, and he's running into pillars, or his face is dying because he has some of the best faces in the show. Or the fact that the entire ending is like this totally stupid, but also like slightly brilliant mashup of all this stuff, all these random little details that you just weren't really paying attention to, or were just little bits and pieces, and it all comes together.
I kind of like the unforeseen foreshadowing. Because, like, I wasn't thinking about it when Lynn hits the switch on the electrical wire.
Yeah, because...
But then it's like she hits the switch on the robot. I was like, I don't think it was a callback, but it could have been a callback.
I mean, it was the one thing where, because I don't remember what she said when she hit that, because I was busy bitching about how, like, it was so fucking stupid that they were getting electrocuted, because they shouldn't have been getting electrocuted until, Toki tried to get him with the fishing line, because that grounded it and would have actually sent a current through all of them, but whatever. I don't remember what she said when she poked the switch, but it was really stupid that a switch was there in the first place, and even the narrator's like, that's not real. But yeah, her poking the switch, because I was like, what is Lynn gonna do? How is she gonna solve this problem? And then drops down and pokes the switch. But yeah, I have unforeshadowed foreshadowing. And I'm hitting that shit with a 2, because that shit was like, that had me...
Like, no, that fucking hits you at the end, because
Because
you're just like, wait, what?
Oh, this, oh my god. But the show has enough, like, nonsense to be like, that didn't seem significant. I don't think that was actually significant, but you can tell that they were like, well, we kept using this character, so we could just use him as a villain. And then just pulled stuff from everywhere else, and everyone's character nonsense comes up, because Toki's constantly a bastard. So him trying to threaten, Bat's life, just fits him.
He also makes a comment when Shin goes over there. He's like, I was gonna do that.
Yeah, and then Kenshiro being the one to finally solve, quote-unquote, solve the problem, but it's actually gotten worse because of him, and then his brothers kind of half-assedly are like, we should probably do something? I don't know, we don't want to get involved with that. And then Lynn just drops in and just pokes the button, and it's like, yeah, no, that is exactly how this shit should have ended. So yeah,
That's what, like a 21?
yes, that
Nice.
is the 21.
Nice.
It was that good. I had that good of a time. And honestly, it gets better as it goes. As they set up the nonsense that these characters are, it's just wonderful to see them keep going. And just seeing these stupid characters in their own, like, they get, oh, this character's gonna get their episode. Like, Toki gets his episode about being healthy. Which turns into a series of nonsense, and you find out about his brother, who's an absolute insane person.
Yeah, well, we knew that about Rao.
And then fucking Toki kills his debt collector. And sits around for a month.
Yeah, and the guy who's giving him the advice shows up. He's like, don't worry about it.
He's like, oh, good, I get it now. And the dead body gets up. He's like, what are you talking about?
Absolutely worry about it.
Oh, it's so good. So good. And then he's like, but I have the best running partner of all, Yuria. And it turns out him running with Yuria was a fever dream because of the green shit that he drank. And he wakes up as the people as they're trying to put him in the ambulance and goes running again.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's great. So good. So stupid. It's only 26 episodes, too. Which are all half episodes, so it's effectively a 13 episode.
Yeah, it's normal length.
Yeah, it's twice as long as Inukai-san's... My life is Inukai-san's dog, which I still can't get myself to get through.
It's fine.
I'll do it eventually.
I'm sure you will.
I've done 10 episodes already. The sunken cost fallacy is there. I only have 4 more to go.
I believe in you.
I'll do it at some point. Anyway, yeah. Holy shit, we talked way too long.
Yeah, a little bit. Alright, see you guys later.